Hey guys, Kathy Iconis here, ready for our next session for the QBO Month-End Master Course. Today we are going to be talking about reconciliations, and I'm going to give everyone another minute or so to join in. Also, like always, let me know in the questions panel, blah, 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 I'm going back and forth. Put in the questions area if you can hear me and everything is working fine. I just want to make sure that I don't go down the road of technical difficulties and not even knowing about it, right? Try saying that fast. Technical difficulties. Okay. I'm like, I got 500 alerts going on, so the phone is on mute. I think I've closed everything. Still waiting on a question. Someone putting in that they can hear me fine. Do, 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 do. You guys aren't going to do it for me, are you? Bum, ba-dum, bum, bum, bum. Let's see if I can do it under here. Can everyone hear me? Okay. Send. Pop that little sucker out too. Maybe I'll get some chat. I don't know. Okay. Well, I am going to get going. I think we are good to go. Let's make sure that looks good. Okay. So let's go. Let's go. Okay, so session number 3 for the month-end master course. Today we are going to be talking about reconciliations. And as I've said a few times, reconciliations are an extremely important part of the month-end process. It's not the only part, though. I know a lot of accountants out there, they just do the reconciliations and then they move on. There's more to it, but this is a huge part to things, and that's why I think sometimes people get confused and just rely on reconciliations. So with reconciliations, the point of that is to make sure that we have all of the transactions in QBO for the period that we're looking at. No more, no less. So we're getting rid of duplicates, we're getting rid of errors, we're adding in things that were missed, all of that sort of stuff, okay? That's whole point of reconciliations. Once we know what transactions, that we have all the right transactions in there, then we can go through the books and make sure that everything is in its correct place. But last thing you want to do is, sit there and work through all the other accounts and not have all the, not know that your transactions are clean, as in you have all the transactions. So we are going to go through all the different methods, all the different screens, all the different stuff that we look at for reconciliations, okay? So we're gonna look at reconciliation history using HubDoc, which is just one tool. That's one that I use. Then reconciliation screen options, fixing reconciliations, understanding clearing accounts, and then also doing reconciliations on those. And a cleanup account is a type of clearing account, but we'll get to it. And loan reconciliations. So remember, like I've said before, we can reconcile almost every account on the balance sheet. And there are some firms out there that their month end is just to do, includes reconciling almost every account on the balance sheet. I don't do it that way, but there's nothing wrong with it. It's just a matter of what systems you set up in place for your firm. Okay. Now, when we want to see what the reconciliation history is for our clients, so that we know where we are, if we're up to date on things, do we need to still do reconciliations, that sort of thing. I use one of these screens, but You can use probably any of them just to give me a snapshot or a quick look to see how I'm progressing through month end and make sure that I'm not forgetting anything. So the first sucker here, let's go into, if I got it in here. See, this is why I don't show this, show it all the time. Okay, the first one in here, we have under your practice, you can go to clients, then click on your client. So this one's my test company. You can go to bookkeeping and it has the account watch list right here. Then you can see what accounts the last reconciled date is on those. Okay, so that's just one thing. You can see, like, I would be looking at this and be like, oh, Bill.com hasn't been reconciled for several months. I need to catch up on those. Amex never been reconciled, all these accounts, right? Now, then the other option is within report tools. And I don't remember if I've covered this with you guys or not, but this is the most underrated part of QuickBooks Online. So within report tools, if you do the briefcase and go to report tools, you will see the status of all of these accounts, when it was last reconciled. If there's an open reconciliation, you're not done with it yet, it will show that, say not completed, okay? It gives you the reconciled balance and the current balance. Again, I'm just looking at the accounts and when it was reconciled as of. The other one is within the reconciliation area of QBO. You want to go to the gear icon. You can click on reconcile and do summary by account. And with that, it lists the statement ending date there and the reconciled on date. So going back, this doesn't say when it was reconciled. It says when it was reconciled through, like the ending date. This one gives you the ending date and when it was reconciled. Okay. But it only shows you what has been reconciled. Oop, go up. So here's everything that's been reconciled. Whereas this other screen, you can see there are some accounts underneath that little thing, some accounts under here that have not been reconciled, and it shows you that. So we have, again, on the QBOA area under clients, you have accounts, the current amount, and then the last reconciled date here. Okay. It looks like it is listing a lot of information, but it's not listing everything that has been reconciled in the past here. Because looking at this, I have this uncategorized asset account. It's an account that's not normally reconciled, so they don't usually include it on some of these other screens. But the report tools screen, this is why I like it, it will show you every bank, every credit card account, even if we have not been reconciled before, right? And then any other accounts on the balance sheet that have been reconciled in the past, it will show you the full listing of that. So let me get into that area right here. So if I go to here and report tools, again, you can see all of the bank and credit card accounts, and then you see that I've also reconciled this other non-bank account right here. One other thing it's not in these slides, you also have this view of banking activity to see when it was reconciled through on there. But again, this doesn't give you any other accounts that have been reconciled, just the bank and credit card accounts. So I'm giving you all the screens, and it's a matter of which one do you want to rely on to look at things. And even if you do, I don't know what you prefer. If I go to the gear icon, I'm going to that reconcile. This is something hard for me in just my mind. This is the options we have. So we have summary, and then history by account. And I swear to God, I mess this up every time. So if I go to summary, this gives me the reconciliation summary, the history of every the accounts that are reconciled, okay? And then history by account gives me the actual account, and you can see the prior reconciliations that have been done on there. And this is where you can see the report of the reconciliation and everything. So don't feel bad if you're flipping around between those options. I do it all the time. Because yeah, I'm like, I feel like history by account could be the same thing as summary because it's the history. Anyway, it's just my brain on things. So now let's talk about using HubDoc. So what I do, let's go back in here, and I'm just doing this so we can see it big enough, okay? So this is an example of my HubDoc account, okay? And the reason I utilize HubDoc is because I can connect to bank accounts and it automatically pulls in um, data files, as in the PDFs of the statements or checks or deposits, automatically pulls that stuff in. So I don't have to go to the client's bank account to get into it. And pull that information down and save it and all of that sort of stuff. I'm taking all of those steps out of the process. So for me, it saves me time in that way. Okay. Now, there have been changes with HubDoc. It was acquired by Xero. Um, and I feel like because of all the bank and financial institutions out there and the changes that they've had with two-factor authentication, where you have to get the text and stuff like that, I feel like everyone's bank feeds or connections are just kind of wonky recently. So there does come a time where I'm going, the $18, $20 a month that I'm paying for this client to pull in the bank statements automatically, is it worth it if nothing's working right now? So I have dropped a couple of clients off of HubDoc because it just wasn't helpful. It was not saving me time, but most of the time I'm good with saving me spending 20 bucks on something if I get the checks that have been that have cleared the bank, the deposit detail. That's huge for me, so that I can match that up to the correct payments and everything in QBO. All of that's a huge time saver instead of me having to log into the account, me maybe even texting my client, hey, send me what that confirmation code is to get into the bank account, all of that sort of stuff. Now, this is an example of, here you can actually see the cleared check itself, okay? And you have the option to also code some of these transactions into QBO if you want to. My biggest thing is avoiding the logging in, dealing with clients, and all of that. There's several ways to go with getting bank statements. One, you can just ask the client for the bank statements, but they have to be on top of things and be able to reply to you quickly. Otherwise, it's going to hold you up. So there's that, right? That little pain in the butt. Two, they can set you up with an administrator account or access to their bank accounts. But you have to probably do that for the bank accounts and the credit card accounts and all of that. Then you manage your login for that, but then you have to go log in, get the information, download it, click around, do whatever you need to do that way. Then, which is my preferred method of setting up those admin accounts, then, they could just give you their login and password. Not my favorite method, not exactly secure, especially then again with what I was saying with the two-factor authentication, then you're hoping your client is around and responsive to you when you text them for, say, that Chase login, that you only have 20 minutes to enter in that code to get into it. And, that's going to only work every time you log in. that kind of sucks. That sort of thing sucks. Now, there are some bank accounts that I can get into, like no big deal. But it all depends on the client, how you're getting in, how you're getting the data, and that sort of stuff. But this HubDoc is a huge time saver for me, and I think it is worth the investment. So I'm not spending time pulling this stuff and looking at things again. Also, like there was one that I had, Navy Federal Credit Union, and you actually had to go to a different place to see the deposits, and then you had to like click like 3 different screens to get to the actual deposit for each one. And so just that amount of time, I wanted HubDoc. Unfortunately, it didn't connect. HubDoc and them didn't connect and get the data in that I wanted. So I still had to click around. That's why I remember it. Having to click that everywhere. Ugh. You can see how I everything I've set up in my practice is repetitive, right? I have recurring tasks and things that I do over and over and over again. Now, if I am doing something really annoyingly easy and dumb over and over again, it drives me crazy. I'm like, there's got to be some automation for this so I don't have to waste my brain cells on that. And that's definitely going in and having to wait on a web page to load how many different times just to get the data that I needed. That sort of thing drives me batty. I want to set up all the tools and everything to have all of the information I need when I need it versus me going in, crap, and you ask the client for this, 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 and this, and then I have to wait for the client for that and everything. So it's almost more value added when you are able to take control of everything and do it all without having to bug the client for those sorts of things, because that's annoying to them just as much, right? So now let's look at the reconciliation screen itself when we get into a reconciliation. How do we do things? Okay. Let me escape out of that. So which one do I want to do? Now I am running my cleanup course at the same time as this one. So I have royally screwed up this account. royally screwed up this account so that I can clean it up in the course. Just giving you fair warning, if you see just absolute mess and everything, that's because I've just been doing this stuff, okay? So when we go into reconcile and we just look at this information, you have your link here to show you your last statement ending date, your last reconciliation, right? We have a beginning balance, your ending balance, and the ending date. We have to enter this information. It does not have to be perfect. So I can enter in whatever I want. Oh, I don't want to go that far out. And do start reconcile, okay? I don't want that first screen to ever scare you. Know that you can always, if there's an error on there or anything, you can enter in information and go back to it. It is okay. You can make changes. Like if I go to this edit screen, I can come in here and I can change the dollar amount now of what the ending balance is or the ending date. I can change it, right? It's flexible here. So it's okay to go past that first screen. Now, let's look at the overall screen right here. Okay, it's giving me my ending balance, which I entered in, and the beginning balance is down here, right? And then it's adding up all the charges and all the payments for me. So I utilize that area to confirm with the totals that are on the bank statements themselves. I do have the bank statements for these. I just have to remember where I put them. Because that's in the cleanup account. Again, I'm not that organized on my accounts. Oh, credit card statements. And am I doing that one? Let's go with this one. I don't think I've done that. Okay, so I'm gonna update this. 5728. I do a lot of copying and pasting in my world. 25. So, and save. Okay, so I could come in here and you see that I have payments of $3,000 and purchases of 3608. You would add that plus the interest and it would, that total should be my charges. Now, I'll tell you, if you do bank feeds correctly, bank reconciliations should take you 2 seconds. But if you don't or someone else does them, this is the world that we're living in here. And I'm explaining all the different things that you can do and deal with in here. Okay. So most of the time, if you set up and you're doing all the work yourself and everything, bank rec should be a breeze, 5 seconds. This is everything else situation. Okay. So different options we have here. We have filter, so you can find specific things. If you have a cleared status, statement ending date, you have all of this. Look, I could change my ending date to 2/28 because it's possible that there were transactions that were dated at a later date that actually went in here. I don't know, all this stuff. I'm scrolling down to see if I have any. So I don't actually have any bank fee transactions listed in here. If I did, you would see little green of this picture right here to show that it is linked to a bank transaction or a bank feed. You'd also have the date from the bank itself listed here, which I have found really helpful recently. So you can always not filter, but sort by that there. I can sort by any of these or almost any of these. Can't do that one. Can't do memo, but I can do charge, payment, all of that, right? This is an auto filter, so I can just look at the charges or I can just look at the payments. That is helpful to me on some of these bank statements. So like this one goes in the order of there's a payment and then everything else. So I can just click that off and then I can go to charges and then start going through here and checking everything off if I want to, right? This gear icon over here gives you the option to remove some columns if you want to if you need it to clear out or do something, I don't know, all of that stuff right there. Let me just check something really quick. I swear my dog just barked and she never barks, so. Yeah, it's just Amazon or someone delivery. Okay. So the other thing up here, we have 3 options that we can do with these bank reconciliations. I can save for later. So if I save for later, that just takes me out of that screen. Everything that I've checked off already in here will be saved. All my work will be saved. And then I can come in and resume reconciling. See what I'm saying? It's all good. You can come back in. We can do stuff, right? If you finish now, it will force an adjustment, a reconciliation adjustment, and tell you when and all that. Please, you don't need to do a reconciliation adjustment. You shouldn't need to. Okay, I recommend that the only time we really do that is in the cleanup engagement when we need to get a starting balance. Otherwise, we shouldn't be doing reconciliation adjustments. They're just right. No, no, that goes against everything in me as an accountant. But I will say, if you are spending an hour trying to make $1 work, maybe it's worth it at that point, right? This other thing right here, close without saving, this wipes out all of this. So if I click that, it really, it gets rid of everything. You'll remove all of your changes. QuickBooks does this visual trick on you. Green buttons are usually mean go, like it moves forward on things. But in these instances, this says go back, right? because it really wants you to think when you make these do these things of close without saving and undo bank reconciliations. There's a couple of these. Like, it's going to make sure that you know what you're doing. I don't know how many times I have just, in my head, just click the green button. Like, I know what I'm doing. Like, yeah, I want to close without saving. I'm doing, yeah. And then I just click the button and it goes and it does this. And I'm like waiting for it to happen. I'm like, why is it still happening? Oh, green button. So if I close without saving, I actually do it. It gets rid of everything. I didn't put my ending balance isn't in there anymore, ending date, all of that sort of stuff. Now let's go in and make a change to something. So if I go in and I void this, but so I made a change to a transaction that was already reconciled in the past, right? When I come to the reconciliation screen now, it gives me that error and says my beginning balance is off. We can help you fix it, right? When I click on this, it gives me what they call the reconciliation discrepancy report. The layout of this is, here are all the transactions that changed, right? When it was changed, what was the reconciled amount right here, and then what is it now? So in this instance, the amount now is 0, right? There's the difference, amount changed, was the type. So, and then I can click the view button. It opens up the transaction history right here, and then I can click on it, and it's in a new window, which is extremely time saving and helpful, right? So you can make changes and do anything you need to do to fix it if someone accidentally deleted, voided something or whatever. Remember, I prefer that we void transactions because when I'm looking at the history, let me go back to the history. If I need to make a change to something, I can now, okay, if I need to fix something I did, like I deleted something by accident, I have the full audit history of this transaction, and I can just click on this link to open it up and fix it. If it's deleted, this is not clickable. It's just a black text, and I would have to create a whole new transaction to fix the mistake that I made. So that's why I prefer voiding of things. So I can come back, let's do this, go back in here, change this back to 24.99, save and close, yes. See, those are all green buttons. Those are all good. And if I am done with this, that red alert has disappeared. It's gone because everything's fixed again. So all good to go there. Okay. Now I'm trying to see. I jumped around a little bit, I think, for my slides. So I don't really use this filter option that much, but I don't know. And see here are those little green icons that you will see when it's connected to a bank transaction. And when it does have that right there, you can see there is a clear date listed next to it. So let me make that bigger. We have the date that is in QBO and then the date for the bank transaction itself right there. So you can kind of see, and when we're doing reconciliations, there's that, month and date difference sort of thing. Maybe it hasn't cleared the bank yet because there's a day or two differential on the transaction or something, and we can pick up those differences with this. Okay, now fixing reconciliations. What, first things first, you can undo bank reconciliations. And let's do history by account. I'm gonna get it right. So yeah, we can undo bank reconciliations. It is in that history by account. Over here on action, you can view the report, click the down button and I can undo. Again, my little green button lets me go back. So I really, really have to think about it if I want to undo that bank reconciliation. Okay. Only accountant users can undo bank reconciliations. So, they gave accountant users special rights to things. This is one of them. Then if you want to do more than one reconciliation, you can do a batch undo, but it gets rid of everything from this point forward, okay? Everything that all the way up the list. So if I had 2 years and I went back here and did batch undo, it would get rid of all 2 years of things. And so you really, really, really want to make sure that you are sure you want to undo that bank reconciliation, okay? So let me go to this here. I'm going to go to 2018. Okay. Right in about here. Okay. So within the bank reconciliation itself, anything that has an R is not going to show up on your list to be able to reconcile. Okay. Even if so, the beginning balance is the sum of everything that has an R in your bank register. Even if that one transaction has an R 2 years in advance, it is part of your beginning balance now. So you can manually change these. So I'll manually undo these, a couple, just to show you what I'm doing. So say I had to fix those transactions and however I did it, they are, they were removed from QBO. I put them back in, they're there, but they're not reconciled, right? I can come in here, go to reconcile. I have to remember what that ending balance was, or beginning balance, this sucker. I can re-reconcile the period. So I can put in the ending date and then say the same ending date as before, 010318. I'm ignoring this because I know it's right. I know I have all the transactions, right? And even if I'm wrong, I can come back and fix it if I need to. If I start reconciling right here, I can click those. Now, if someone can remind me what those two transactions were. Oh, it was those two. I can click those two transactions back, and then by finishing now, it puts those R's on the transactions. So this is re-reconciling, where I'm reconciling the same period over again, but I'm just, for some reason, clearing out a couple more transactions to get my difference, to update the difference to 0 on here, all of that. So here, I'm going to finish now. Done. Now, I can do that as many times as I want. And I don't have to do anything. I could just not touch anything and I can do finish now and done, right? Now, when I go back to the history by account, it gives me 3 reconciliations for January 3rd. You see that there were changes made to that. I did a reconciliation adjustment, so that's what that one is. And then I redid these in here, right? Just want to pop in again. If you guys have any issues with hearing me or anything, just let me know over there. You guys have been a little eerily quiet, so I'm a little nervous about that. But coming back to this, you can view the report off of any of these. Reconciliation reports are static. They do not change from the time that you actually do the reconciliation. We want to know what work you did at that point in time, what you cleared, what you didn't clear, all of that. So when viewing this, you can see how we're reconciling the bank balance to what's in QBO. You can see what is uncleared as of the end of your statement date, right? Uncleared charges, uncleared payments, and then we have a listing of everything that's uncleared after that date. In this case, it's going to be really long because I have a ton of transactions that are in the books that haven't been reconciled yet. Same thing here. Excuse me. So right here, you can see the summary of it. You can see here that I did nothing. Charges and cash advances cleared, payments and stuff cleared. Nope, didn't do a thing. If I go to that second one, you can see I cleared $44.99. And then on the first one, you can see that I did a lot more right there. Now, if you do make changes, they do that reconciliation discrepancy or change report on the top of these reports now. This changes if you make changes, but from this point down, it does not change at all. Okay. Sometimes when you are working with a tax preparer, for year end, they want you to send over a reconciliation report or something, or an auditor. That's a better example. You can go ahead and send them, these reports. I would just recommend having one report for the month because they might get a little confused if you have a whole bunch on it. So, which I've done actually. I've sent it over with double reconciliations and everything. I think they just ignored me, thinking I was like crazy cuckoo. I'm like, I swear I'm a CPA. I'm just using the system to make things work the way I need it to. Okay, when your beginning balance is off, you saw that we come in and we get that discrepancy report. I just want to see what I got. Okay, that we have that discrepancy screen. One thing to note, and what I was trying to say about like anything that has an R on it, even if it's in the future or anything, it does not, it is added up to make your beginning balance. So what happens is sometimes when you connect the bank account for the first time to your bank account, the bank feed to the bank account, sometimes QBO will bring in an opening balance on that bank account, and they automatically put an R on that transaction. So you could be first time never reconciling the account and it have a beginning balance and you're like, it's never been reconciled. Why is that happening? Right? You want to go back into the register, find that R. You can turn the R off, like manually that I showed you. You can delete it, the whole transaction if you need to, all of that. You're going to have to deal with it in some way because the offset to that entry is opening balance equity, which you can't just leave there. So you'd have to figure it out anyways. Usually in my experience, it's just bringing in that beginning balance, but I already have all the historical transactions. So I really already had that beginning balance. So I just delete the transaction. Now, the other thing you can do is within the briefcase, we can go to voided deleted transactions in here. And all this does is it auto filters the audit log for us. So I could actually just go to the audit log and do this myself if I wanted to. One little crazy thing now, if I got rid of this month, it doesn't update anything. And when I come back to the filter, it still says this month. So kind of drives me batty. So I could say this year, update, and you can see everything that has been voided or deleted in here. So this is another view to view transactions. I think the reconciliation discrepancy report gets you most of it, but if you don't find what you're looking for, it could be over here. And see the difference between a voided expense, I can click on the expense and open it, versus all of these deleted ones, I can't open anything because the transaction's gone, but I can still view the audit log of that transaction, so you can see like when I first started it and everything. Oh, excuse me. Man, the yawn monsters come back. And again, to note, because I have like destroyed this file and redone this file and whatever over and over again, that's why we see all these changes to the transaction that seems a little excessive. That would be me messing around with the test company. Okay. Now, another thing we want to look for is looking for duplicate transactions. And I think the best way to do that is when you're looking at the register. Where do I want to go? I usually go this way. See if that one has duplicates in here. I'm telling you, this account should be pretty messed up. But I have to. Why? How about we sort it the other direction, Bubba? Okay, so we have all of these cleared transactions in here, but you start, when I'm going through here, I'm just scanning things and I see like, hey, this is not cleared, right? And it looks like the exact same amount as another transaction that did clear. So the question is, what do I do at that point? I can come in here and edit this. But what I see is that it is matching on the other side of things. So that, and this happens a lot. I see this a lot. So if I look at this transaction here, this has been added from the checking account, the bank feed from the checking account, okay? And if I go to the other one, it has been added from the, it says online payment, thank you, from the Citi card side, okay? So what I can do is I'm just actually just going to void this whole transaction. Yes. Okay. Now I want to make sure when I voided it, that bank link is gone, right? So now I can go into my banking area because I avoided that transaction. It pulled it out, right, of the transaction. And anytime you take it away from the transaction, the bank feed, it goes back into this area to look at again. So I can find a match. It's because it's not going to the right account, is it? Let's go to the register. Where do we go? Come on. Okay, so this one's going to accounts payable. I want to edit that. And I'm just going to put it to Citi. So it is going to the right account now. Save and close. I'm telling you, I can really mess up some transactions. If I come back to the Citi card, now it finds the match and I can match that up. So sometimes when we do these bank feeds, it's actually one transaction because it's it goes from one account to the other transfer. But because of the way people go through bank feeds and go through it quickly and aren't exactly aware of all of that, you can create two transactions in QBO for the exact same thing. So that's what you just saw and me unraveling it. So voiding out one, and then adding the bank feed to the other one. So now if I come into the bank feed or the transaction, it has 2 matches because that's what should be on there. It should have a bank feed match from the credit card and a bank feed match from the bank account. So it's in the right place now. But that's, looking through duplicates, that sometimes it's just a matter of voiding out a transaction because it's just in there twice. Or it's that higher level thing of what I just did. Okay, now coming back over here, what I do in the cleanup class is I actually use a cleanup bank account. So, and use it as a clearing account. And what I use clearing accounts in several different ways, but in this instance, it's like if I have all these transactions come back here that aren't reconciling, that that don't get reconciled through the end of the transaction, and I'm not ready to deal with them yet, and I need to put them somewhere, which is really helpful in a cleanup, I would move all these transactions to that cleanup bank account and then go through and reconcile that cleanup bank account. So that, coming back to actually the cleanup account, it's a type of clearing account. And the point of a clearing account is to reconcile to 0. We want the amount to reconcile to 0. Because all we're doing is we're putting transactions in and we're taking transactions out for the same dollar amount, just to simplify the accounting of things. If the bank feed doesn't match up to payroll transactions or something, I would set up a payroll clearing account, right? Stripe clearing, I get money coming into my bank account that does not include my Stripe fees. So I put that to a Stripe clearing account, and then I record the money that I get and the fees, and they should both zero each other out. All of those 3 transactions should do that. Bill.com is a good example of an app integration that creates their own clearing account, and I believe I can show you that one. Right now, let's go that way. And this is going to show you like everything from the beginning of time. Let's go back. So what you'll see is that I have $49, $49, a debit and a credit, right? And then my difference is 0. So the way Bill.com works is that you would say like, okay, I'm going to pay these 5 bills, and Bill.com would take that money for the 5 bills out of your bank account one day, right? In a single day. Well, your bank feed isn't going to show 5 single withdrawals. It's going to show 1 withdrawal from Bill.com to pay everything. So what Bill.com has done in their integration with things is it says, okay, I'm going to pay bills separately. Those 5 bills are going to be paid. It creates those bill payments, right? Records it to this Bill.com clearing account, and then creates a journal entry saying, bank feed, you should see this total amount withdrawn from the bank on this day. And it comes to the clearing account. So at the end of the day, those cancel each other out, and we have taken care of the bill payments correctly, and we have taken care of the withdrawal correctly from the bank feed. So that's how we use clearing accounts. Of whenever you have that like kind of a little bit of a messy situation, something that you need to spend a little extra time on, create a clearing account for it. So like I said, I have a Stripe clearing account. Every time I have a Stripe transaction, it goes to the clearing account. Then later, I reconcile the Stripe clearing account so that I'm just dealing with Stripe transactions and I can fix anything or deal with whatever I need to do. You can do the same thing with PayPal, all of those sorts of things. You can also do $0 reconciliations or clearing accounts on payroll liability accounts if you want to. Remember, we can reconcile almost any asset and liability account or any balance sheet account, right? With a few exceptions. So I can say, hey, I had this much withheld from payroll and I actually made the payment here. I could check off all those transactions. They zero each other out. So if I want to do that, I can do that reconciliation. It's just another clearing one. Coming back to the concept of having that cleanup reconciliation, I just come over here when I just have problem transactions, I put them, and they're not clearing a bank account or whatever, I put them over into that cleanup account. And that pretty much gives me a to-do list to work through these transactions. So if they're sitting in my cleanup account, that means I need to go through, figure out what's wrong with it. Should it even be in the books? Should it not? All of this. Again, this is really helpful in a cleanup engagement because you're doing a lot of trying to figure out of transactions. And remember what I talk about, I systemize my practice where I'm doing reconciliations, right? Reconciliations should be easy, should be getting all of those transactions reconciled and everything. It shouldn't be a point necessarily where I'm going through and having to figure out what all of these like problem transactions are. I'm just going to move those over to this clearing account, this cleanup account that I have, right? And continue on with my reconciliation. I'll reconcile all the accounts that I have, and then at the end, I'll come in and try to reconcile this cleanup account and really make sure that everything is taken care of. So, in giving you an example of this, I had a client that would put in credit card charges, right, to then be billable to a client. So I want to keep that transaction because it's it's added to or attached to a billable charge that will then go on an invoice. So I can't get rid of it. But the person, she would book it on the wrong thing. So maybe it got paid from the bank account instead of the credit card. Well, it was put on the wrong type of transaction. I couldn't change it, right? So it showed up over here, but she booked it over here and all of this sort of mess. So what I would do is put the transactions to the sides that didn't reconcile everything, put those to the cleanup account so they would zero each other out. I would keep the correct categorization of it, but it wouldn't be on the incorrect bank register anymore. It would be in the cleanup bank register. When the cash is actually withdrawn, I wouldn't classify that transaction anywhere. I would just put it to the cleanup account. So then those two transactions zero each other out. Okay. Then the last thing I want to talk about is loan reconciliations. I don't know how many times I can say you can reconcile almost any account. And if you have loans and you just want to easily reconcile those every month, it's possible that you get a statement from whatever financial institution it is. But if you don't, you can just create a really, really easy amortization schedule. And then every month, just go in and update what the interest and the principal is of the transaction. So what I would usually do is I'd have the bank fee transaction for XYZ loan, right? And I would book that whole amount to my loan account. But at the end of the month, I'd go in and reconcile it to my amortization schedule. So I would split that transaction between the principal payment and the interest. So the total dollar amount's still the same. It's just a matter of what gets to the balance sheet, what gets to the P&L. And let me see what I got. I'm like, I want to get that. No. Okay. And then in Excel, and I even have the Mac version, okay? Well, Mac Office 365, I don't know what it is. In Excel, you can do new from template. All you have to do is under the templates, you can do amortization. Really? Oh, okay. I was typing amortization. Okay, so this is the amortization schedule template, right? Just click it. It automatically does everything for you. Don't try to recreate the wheel, guys. It has everything you need. You can put in the loan amount, 15,000, the interest rate, 3, change all this and this updates down here. You put in all of that information. You can even say like, let's see, $500, and that changes my whole amortization schedule, right? It finds the principal and interest and takes care of everything for you. Seriously, just don't make it difficult on yourselves. But I save this as a work paper that I then update every month. And I will show you guys work papers next time. So perfect ending to today's session on stuff. Next time we are going to be talking about work papers and going into detail of how do we get support for the other numbers on the balance sheet. And I'll tell you now that that session usually goes long. So what I actually do, we'll stop it at an hour, and then I carry over into the next session, whatever remaining work papers I haven't done. So you don't have to, it'll be basically over 1.5 sessions or 1.25 sessions. There will be all of work papers, and I'll give you guys templates and all that fun stuff. Okay. So, the other thing, because this is a Tuesday, Thursday class, and Thursday is July 4th, we are not having a class on the 4th. We're having our next class next Tuesday. So I will see you guys there. Let me know if you have any questions, post anything you need in the Facebook group until then. And thank you for your time today, and have a great holiday. Okay, guys, see you later.